Point number 2, the second point, which is really important, is how many days of the week should you be practicing? Well, obviously, the more you practice, the better. There's no doubt about that. Every day you practice, you're going to make progress towards your goal. Okay? Every day you don't practice, though, something occurs. You get a little bit rusty, you start to forget the benefits you get from your previous practice sessions. It starts to backslide a bit. Obviously, you're never going to backslide the whole way. You always remember a certain amount. And that's, let's say, at the end of each week, you sort of keep a certain percentage of what you've earned in terms of your practice and your ability. But basically, throughout the week, for every day you practice, you make some steps of progress forwards. For every day you don't practice, you slide a little bit backwards. Okay? So once again, let's use this little diagram to help us explain how it works. And then you can make up your own mind how much you reckon you should practice. So explain what I'm talking about here on this piece of paper. Here's a line, okay? Right at this end of the line we have bad, all right? And at this end of the line we have fabulous, bad in reverse if you like, almost very close, okay? And all the way along this line from really, really terrible, bad to absolutely fabulous, we've got a whole bunch of little steps. We're going to call these steps of progress, okay? Obviously we need to practice to get from bad to fab. We all want to get towards this end of the line, all right? Now, here's the rule. For every day you practice, you're going to make steps of progress along here. For every day you don't practice, you go backwards. Look, what's the ratio likely to be? For every day you do practice, so we're going to call it a practice day, we're going to make 2 steps, okay? For every day you don't practice, no practice, we're going to go back 1 step. Okay, it's really crucial. So let's look at what happens if you practice 1 day out of the week. Okay, right here, you practice on, let's say, Monday, you make 2 steps forward, but on Tuesday you don't practice, so you come back a step. On Wednesday you don't practice, up, we're back to 0. Okay, so 0 is what happens if you practice 1 time a week. Let's look at what happens if you practice 2 times a week. You practice on Monday, and you practice on Tuesday, but you don't practice on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oops, we're already back to 0. 2 times a week, pretty much back to 0 steps of progress. Let's look at what happens if you practice 3 times a week. Okay, you practice on Monday, Tuesday, and now we're practicing on Wednesday as well. Okay, but you don't practice on Thursday, on Friday, on Saturday, or on Sunday. Now we end up at the end of the week here. 2 steps of progress forwards. Alrighty? Okay, let's look at what happens if we practice 4 times a week. Alright, we practice on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now on Thursday as well, but we don't practice on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and we end up with 3 whole more steps of progress because we've made an extra 2 steps of progress forwards, but we've also not gone 1 step of progress backwards. So now we are at 5 steps of progress. You see things really starting to move along. 0, 0, 2, 5. If you practice 5 times a week, you're going to make 8 steps of progress, 3 more. If you practice 6 times a week, you're going to make 11 steps of progress. And if you practice 7 times a week, of course, you're doing 2 for every day and that's it. Okay, so you're making 14 steps of progress. So you really start to see that happening. Here is about where I recommend most of us really work towards. Practicing 5 times a week, you're going to get 8 steps of progress by the end of the week. So there you have it. Obviously, the more times in a week you practice, the better off you are. But I would recommend that about 5 times a week, that's a good place for your average student to start and make good regular progress on your instrument. Okay? If you're practicing 5 times a week, you're making good steady progress, you're practicing most of the days of the week. Most of us don't always have the ability to practice every single day of the week. If you can do that, fantastic. Okay, so let's look at some scenarios here. And by looking at it this way, this is really going to convince you. Okay, it's going to really let you know how many times a week you're going to want to practice. Okay, scenario 1, you do your 5 sessions in 1 week. Okay, that's what we're recommending. You do 5 sessions of practice in 1 week. And let's look at this on paper. Okay, so here's that scenario. We're practicing for 1 week. Here it is, 1 week. And in that week, we're doing 5 sessions. 5 sessions of progress and of practice, and because you're doing that in that week, you're making 8 steps of progress. And so the total is the 8 steps of progress. That's your achievement. Okay, What about if you don't do 5 sessions a week? I mean, what say you do your minimum amount of 3 sessions in a week? Okay, it's not a whole lot less, you know, it's only 2 less sessions. You're practicing 3 times a week, surely that's okay. Let's look at what it actually means. Okay, in this second scenario, you are practicing only for 3 sessions in the week. So how many steps of progress do you make? You are only making 2 steps for each week. In order to achieve those 8 steps of progress, you are going to have to do that times 4, okay? 2 lots of 4 are 8. So you're getting your 8 steps, okay, but you're doing that 4 times. So that is now 4 weeks that you're going to have to do those 3 sessions a week. So we times that 4 weeks by the 3 sessions. How many sessions are you doing in total? You're doing 12 practice sessions. So which scenario would you prefer? So now that you've seen the 2 results, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to get your 8 steps of progress by practicing 5 times in 1 week? You're doing 1 week's worth of practice and it's a total of 5 sessions. Or would you prefer to get your 8 steps of progress by practicing 3 times a week, but doing that for a whole month? Okay, and in total, how many sessions are you doing? You're doing over twice as many. You're doing 12 sessions of practice. So you can either get your 8 steps by doing 5 sessions in 1 week, or you can do 12 sessions in total, over twice as much. And what's more, it's going to take you 4 times as long. It's going to take you a whole month as opposed to 1 week to get the same amount of practice. That should definitely convince you. And as usual, if you want to check out more of our free video blogs, learn more about drumming technique, or just look at all sorts of information on drumming, just check out drumclinic.com. That's drum-clinic.com.